A farm in Holmes County, Ohio, run by an Amish family using methods their great-great-grandparents taught them, recorded corn yields of 178 to 187 bushels per acre. The regional average for modern tractor-powered farms on the same land class, using the full arsenal of synthetic inputs, GPS-guided precision planting, and agronomist-managed fertility programs, that is a 60% yield advantage produced by a farmer using horse-drawn equipment and a compost pile. The university extension offices do not teach this, the fertilizer companies do not advertise it. The industrial agriculture system has spent 80 years telling you that without synthetic inputs, without chemical pest control, without the technology it sells, the land cannot perform. Holmes County, Ohio says otherwise. 200 years of unbroken harvests say otherwise. This is not folklore. This is documented in peer-reviewed soil science. The data exists, the yields are real, and the system behind them is not complicated. It is just disciplined in ways the modern world stopped being disciplined the moment synthetic nitrogen became cheap. We are going to break it down. Every rotation phase, every composting method, every layer of biological pest defense, the closed nutrient loop that turns horse manure into a fertility system more efficient than anything sold in a bag. By the time we reach the final layer, you will understand exactly why the same acre that fed one Amish family in 1820 is still feeding their descendants today, and why the industrial farm planted in 1970 on the land next door is requiring 3 times the inputs to produce 2/3 the yield. Everything you think you know about how soil works is about to change. Let's go. Not one secret, not one crop, not one technique, a system. The Amish model runs on 3 interlocking principles: soil structure, closed nutrient loops, and biological defense. Remove one, and the whole thing collapses. Keep all 3, and the same acre feeds your great-great-grandchildren. The rule that governs everything is this: the Amish treat land as a living organism, not a production machine. Modern industrial agriculture optimizes for the highest yield this season. The Amish optimize for what the soil will do in 200 years. Those are not the same goal. They are not even close. God did not design the earth without logic. He built nitrogen fixation into the roots of legumes. He built pest resistance into plants with high sugar content. He built nutrient recycling into organic decomposition. All of it before a single human ever picked up a plow. The Amish did not invent this system. They simply refused to abandon it. This is not a new conversation. After World War II, industrial farming happened fast. Synthetic nitrogen flooded the market. Tractors replaced horses. Monoculture replaced rotation. Yields went up for a while. What nobody measured was the soil. By the time the data came in, the damage was generational. Topsoil loss, compaction layers, collapsed microbial populations. The Amish never participated, not because they were ignorant of what was happening, because they understood that what the industrial system called progress was actually a withdrawal from a biological account that took thousands of years to fill. Research in Holmes County confirmed what the Amish had practiced all along: higher water infiltration, lower compaction, higher organic matter, higher alkaline phosphatase activity, the biological marker of a thriving microbial community. The oldest methods, measured by the most modern instruments, came out ahead. One rule: everything depends on it. The Amish farm is a closed loop. The horse eats the hay, the horse produces manure, the manure feeds the soil grows the hay, the loop closes. Nothing wasted, nothing imported that can be produced internally. The numbers tell the story. On high-performing Amish farms, for every unit of nitrogen harvested as grain or milk, only 1.35 units are required as input sourced almost entirely from biological nitrogen fixation through clover and alfalfa root bacteria. Conventional non-Amish dairy farms on the same land class require a ratio of 3.5, more than twice the nitrogen input to produce the same output. Most of it is synthetic. Most of it is already in the watershed before harvest. The closed loop prevents all of that. And the closed loop is built on one foundation: the rotation. 4 years, 4 crops, 1 unbreakable sequence. Year 1. The heavy feeder. Corn. The most demanding crop in the system. Corn is planted into the most nitrogen-rich ground on the farm soil that spent the previous year under clover or alfalfa, pulling atmospheric nitrogen into the root zone through symbiotic bacteria. That decomposing root mass releases a surge of organic nitrogen timed precisely for corn's rapid growth phase. No synthetic bag, no spreader. The fertility is already there. Result: 17.8 to 187 bushels per acre. on land that has never seen a synthetic fertilizer application. Year 2. The light feeder. Oats and small grains. Following corn, the soil is drawn down but not empty. Oats are planted here because they are light feeders, crops calibrated for exactly this level of residual fertility. One of the most precise observations in the system: oats cannot go directly into fresh sod. The soil is too rich. The oats grow too tall, lodge, and the crop is destroyed. By placing oats after corn, the rotation matches nutrient level to crop tolerance automatically. The farmer does not adjust the plant to fit the soil. The rotation adjusts the soil to fit the plant. Year 3. The soil builder. Alfalfa and clover. The entire third year is dedicated to replenishment. Alfalfa and clover form symbiotic relationships with rhizobium bacteria that convert atmospheric nitrogen, 78% of the air above every field, into soil-bound fertility at zero cost. The hay feeds the horses and cattle. Their manure returns to the field. The cycle folds back on itself. A 4 to 5 year rotation with alfalfa has been shown to make viral soil diseases and root rots effectively disappear from the land. Not suppressed, gone. The pathogens targeting corn cannot survive in legume root chemistry. The land does not rest in year 3. It is being disinfected and refueled simultaneously. Year 4. The scavenger. Root crops and cover. Turnips, radishes, and winter rye drive deep taproots into the subsoil, fracturing compaction and pulling leached nutrients back up to the surface. Winter rye holds the soil through the cold months, suppresses weeds, and is plowed under in spring as green manure, a final injection of organic matter before the cycle restarts. The field enters year 1 more fertile than it was 4 years before. Not the same. More fertile. That is the engine. And the engine needs fuel. The rotation cycle does not work without fertility inputs. And on an Amish farm, those inputs are manufactured on site. Every draft horse produces approximately 50 pounds of manure per day. That manure is not a waste problem. It is the primary fertilizer input for the entire operation. But raw manure applied directly burns crops and releases nitrogen in volatile bursts the soil cannot hold. The Amish solution is the 12-day thermophilic compost method, a precise carbon-to-nitrogen ratio of 30 to 1 straw and leaves for carbon, fresh manure and green material for nitrogen. Built to a minimum of 4 feet in each dimension, the pile generates internal temperatures of 130 to 160 degrees Fahrenheit within 48 hours. At that temperature, weed seeds are destroyed, pathogens are destroyed. 12 days of timed turning later, the result is dark, crumbly, finished compost dense with humic acids and stable organic matter that holds nutrients in the soil for years, not weeks. In the garden beds, many Amish families layer this further, alternating straw and manure directly in place, creating a living floor that suppresses weeds, retains moisture, and feeds the soil biology through the entire growing season. It mirrors the natural decomposition of a forest floor, building fertility from the ground up rather than pouring it in from above. The financial result of this closed loop: Amish farms retain 54% of gross income as profit. The regional conventional average is 17%. The difference is almost entirely eliminated input costs. When your fertility is manufactured by animals you already own, the fertilizer line on the budget disappears. The Amish do not spray, not reduced spraying, not organic approved alternatives, no spray program at all. The reason dismantles everything most people think they know about pest control. Pests are not treated as enemies. They are treated as a diagnostic signal. A pest problem means a soil problem. Fix the soil and the pests leave, not because they were driven out, but because the plant stopped sending the signal that attracted them. That signal is sugar. The bricks principle. A stressed plant grown in depleted soil, hit with synthetic nitrogen, produces high free nitrogen and low complex sugars in its sap. Free nitrogen is exactly what insects need to reproduce. Low sugar means weak cellular structure broadcasting chemical distress on a frequency every pest in the field can read. Conversely, a plant with a Brix level above 12 is largely invisible to most pest insects, which lack the enzymes to digest complex sugars. Healthy soil produces high Brix plants. High Brix plants do not get eaten. Layer 1. Soil nutrition. The primary pest defense is a plant too healthy to target. Compost-fed soil produces dense cell walls, high mineral content, and high Brix. Synthetic nitrogen produces lush but weak tissue, exactly the soft, high-nitrogen cells that insects are designed to exploit. Moving plant families through different beds each year structurally prevents specialist pests from building populations. Soil-borne pathogens overwinter waiting for the same host crop to return. The rotation ensures it never does. The pathogen population collapses without a host. Layer 3. Beneficial insect habitat. Amish gardens are not monocultures. Marigolds at the borders, dill among the brassicas, comfrey along the fence lines. These recruit lady beetles, parasitic wasps, and hoverflies, a standing army of predaceous insects whose entire life cycle is supported by the flowering diversity of the Amish plant deliberately. The beneficials do not arrive on their own. The habitat brings them. Layer 4. Weed throttling. Alfalfa and sweet clover canopies outcompete weeds physically and chemically, eliminating the need for herbicides. When soil nitrogen is locked in organic form rather than dissolved as synthetic nitrate, the opportunistic weeds that evolved to exploit disturbed industrial fields lose their competitive advantage entirely. Layer 5. The morning walk. Every morning, every row. A disciplined daily observation catching a single egg cluster before it becomes a colony, a slight wilt before it becomes a field-wide collapse. Not a romantic tradition. The early warning system that keeps every other layer from being tested at scale. 5 layers. 0 synthetic inputs. Pest management outcomes the $17 billion industry has not matched on degraded conventional ground. Underneath all of it runs one more system most people never discuss. The Amish maintain their own seed banks. Heirloom varieties selected over generations, traditional stone-ground corn, locally adapted tomato lines. Heritage grain strains chosen not for supermarket shelf life, but for performance within this specific low-input ecosystem. These varieties are adapted to regional weather patterns, local pest pressure, and the particular biological profile of soil that has been managed this way for 200 years. The soil is adapted to the crops are adapted to the soil. The seed bank is the memory of the system carrying forward 2 centuries of selection in every kernel. Industrial agriculture discarded this. Standardized hybrid seed replaced locally adapted varieties. Crops optimized for synthetic input conditions replaced crops optimized for biological soil conditions. And when the synthetic inputs become unavailable or unaffordable, the industrial crop has no fallback. The Amish crop has the soil, and the soil has been building toward it for 200 years. If you watched this far, you already understand something most people do not. The Amish secret is not one thing, it is a system. Rotation feeds the nutrient loop. The nutrient loop builds the soil builds the plant. The healthy plant repels the pest. The seed bank preserves the genetics adapted to all of it. Every layer depends on every other layer. Remove one and the whole machine degrades. Modern agriculture is spending billions trying to engineer solutions to problems the Amish never created. Soil restoration programs, biological pest control research, regenerative farming initiatives, cover crop incentive payments. The Amish did not need any of it. They needed the discipline to keep doing what worked. The plants were always there, biology was always real. The system was always capable of feeding a family for 200 years on the same acre. It just required someone willing to manage for the long term instead of the next season. Subscribe, leave a comment telling us which layer changed how you see farming, and we will see you in the next one.